Allah knows, and whatever lies in the heavens and the heavens,
there's brothers praying in the Musalla that are going to be here in a few minutes, inshallah. This is our brother from Maryland, who is one of the knowledgeable Muslims we have in Masjid al-Hikmah, and he has another companion with him. I forgot your name though. Brother Hakeem. Inshallah, he's going to be giving us the lecture, so I'll have him start.
Okay, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Okay, I apologize for my lateness first. We got kind of turned around. We were headed to the Annandale campus, and we got confused between Annandale and here. But I just want to mention a few things, because as any Muslim, young Muslim, whatever you are, you know that on Yawm al-Qiyamah we stand before Allah Ta'ala and we get the same 5 questions. But it's very important that one of the problems that we have, and particularly here in the West, because that we have a different understanding of terminology. I mean, things may mean something to you. I may use the term, you know, you come in the West and you learn the word deen and you say it means religion, which is a misconception. Okay, and because if, in English, many times, if we take something from Webster or whatever, everybody has the same meaning of the word. But in Islam, many times we'll have 5 or 6 different meanings for what we say when we mean Islam. So, but the first thing I want to go over is the concept, because Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, "Inna deenu inda Allahi Islam." Allah tells us in the Quran, verily, deen with Allah is Islam. And we loosely translate that to be religion. But if you go to the books like Lisan al-Arab, or if you go into the books where they teach you what is the word meaning in lugha, and then from the istilahat as a technical term as opposed to language, the first thing they give you in Lisan al-Arab, but deen means ta'a wa khudu. Deen means obedience and that humility, humbling oneself before Allah Ta'ala. So verily that when we think about deen, we should think about that when we say my deen is Islam, we say my obedience to Allah is based on istislamu lillahi bit-tawheed, total surrendering ourselves to the will of Allah Ta'ala in tawheed. You know, and that's not religion, because religion carries the concept of that you worship something. It's not necessarily you obedient, because you have religious movements in the West, and they say this, my religion is this, but my philosophy is this, and I'm a Catholic, I'm a Jew, I'm a Protestant or whatever. But in Islam, we don't have that. And so it's very important that we as Muslims understand that first and foremost. When I use the term deen, I want to use it in the sense that we learned it when we was studying in the Middle East and other places, that deen is obedience. So whenever we talk about this concept in Islam, we should keep that in mind or tonight. And the other word, when we say it's Islam, if I was to ask you what was Islam, what would you tell me? What would be your definition? Because in the books of like Ibn Taymiyyah or Ibn Jawziyah, Ibn Qayyim, and other people like that, or even Ibn Hajar, they have a standard definition. And they have a standard definition that they teach in the schools in the Middle East. Some of you may have gone there. They run through 1st through 12th grade. So just to throw it out there, what would you say Islam would mean?
Submission.
Submission? Peace, submission. Any other answer?
Peace.
Peace. Okay, now, because the definition they give, هو استسلام لله بالتوحيد والانقياد له بالطاعة وتخلص من الشرك وبراء من أهله. It is total surrenderance to the will of Allah Ta'ala, but then there's conditions, بالتوحيد, that you're doing it وحد الشيء, and you're making everything for Allah Ta'ala. Meaning, as Allah says in another ayat of the Quran, إلا من تابوا وأصلحوا واعتصموا بالله وأخلصوا دينهم واعتصموا بالله وأخلصوا دينهم لله أولئك مع المؤمنين. So they give you a concept that when we say هو استسلام لله بالتوحيد, that it's the total surrender to Allah and Tawheed, meaning that like the people who make tawbah, who have remorse, who do the righteous deeds, all these things come into play. وَإِنْقِيَادُ لَهُ بِالطَّاعَةِ, it being allowing oneself to be led by Allah Ta'ala willingly. And that's the other point that we miss many times. People will come to you and they'll say, okay, you're doing it, but but we should have any difficulty in our heart about doing it. That's another part of Islam. And to free oneself from any shirk, mean purifying the way you do things, that you're doing them only for Allah and having nothing else, bara, immunity, openly letting people know that you have nothing to do with the family of shirk or those different types of shirk. I mean, this is the standard definition of Islam. You know, many times ago we use peace and other things because we live in the West, so we develop the Western terminology and we make the Western terminology Islam. But we have to go back because the way that Sahaba heard the word and the way that the Prophet ﷺ explained it to the Sahaba should be our understanding. And that's very important. So when we say Inda Dino Inda Allahi al-Islam, they're verily deen with Allah, that obedience with Allah is total surrender to His will with Tawheed. And allowing myself now to be guided by what Allah Ta'ala has said, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِاللَّهِ, by adhering to what Allah Ta'ala has said, وَتَخَلُّصْ مِنَ الشِّرْكِ وَأَخْلَصُ دِينُهُمْ لِلَّهِ, purifying one's deen, that I'm doing this totally just for Allah. So this is like, I always kind of like to start with this because this is the way I was taught Islam as well, that you have to have a definition for a term, that everyone's talking about the same thing. So when we leave the room, there's not 5 or 6 different understandings of what I meant by the term or what was meant by the term according to the scholars of Islam. And these 2 definitions I gave you are the standard definitions of Islam. And then we like to go through a couple of things because you live in the West and always the issue is what is loved by Allah Ta'ala. وَمَنْ أَحَبَّ لِلَّهِ وَأَبْغَضَ لِلَّهِ وَلِلَّهِ وَمَنَعَ لِلَّهِ. He said, he who loves for Allah, who hates for Allah. You know what I mean? And he who hinders or stops something for Allah. So Allah talks about these different concepts through the Prophet ﷺ. But when we loving for Allah, we hating for Allah, we have to do with some practical examples. We just want to start with these practical examples. Allah Ta'ala's Messenger ﷺ has told us about certain things. La'natullah Ta'ala ala these certain things. Allah has cursed certain things. And we live in a society in particular, and I give an example because I like to talk about this. I listened to a tape from a Muslim, and it made me somewhat angry because he was talking about the masjid. Right, and he said that the masjid, that the minbar was the reefer minbar. Reefer is dope, right? So many times, the dope minbar. So what does that mean? So many times a Muslim would try to use the modern hip language to try to express a term in Islam, and he winds up saying something that is totally against Islam. And we relate it through, people trying to relate it through something of kufr, rather through something of Allah Ta'ala and His Messenger. So like Allah Ta'ala tells us about certain things which are cursed, right? And it's important for you as young Muslims, these are some things that you see often. We walk about the street and the Prophet he told men, he who resembles the people is of them. In another hadith, men labasa libasu shahra, albasahu Allah Ta'ala yawm al-qiyamah. Allah will cause him to wear, if you wear clothes which are shahra. And they explain that in the scholars of hadith explain this word. He said, Allah Ta'ala's message, he who wears clothes which are famous. You wear it to be seen amongst men. Right? And we see many of the young Muslims and the Muslims today, they're wearing these skinny jeans, the pants with having their behind hanging out, and all these other things. And you should know and understand that where this comes from. Right? Does anybody know where that comes from? So I just don't have to,
You said prison?
It comes from, because we call it retro prison homosexuality. Because the homosexuals in prison used to have to wear their pants down off their behind like that to show that they were gay or they had been raped by somebody in prison 20 years ago. So now Shaitan has made people adapt to something that is retro prison homosexual and made it fair seeming to us. So, if you know your young Muslim brothers, they're coming out with this, they're wearing the skinny jeans and that, they should understand that who has designed that, what is that saying? That you have adopted something that represented something that Allah Ta'ala hates. And that's why this is libas al-shahra. And Al-Albani explains libas al-shahra and Uthaymin and others as wearing something that you're doing it to be famous. That, now I got to have the label on my shirt to say Timberland across my chest or Nike or whatever. And if another brother comes in without that, you look down at him. Because you're saying that mine is more famous. Or I'm wearing something just to be seen amongst men. So, it's very important that we as Muslims begin to see these things. And, when I talk to a Muslim and I see something like that, then I should dislike it. And from the side of the sisters, we look at it from the point of view of the wigs, of the hair, the fake hair. Allah Ta'ala's messenger said, the person is cursed that does that. And that's important. You're in college, you're in other places, you run around and people might think this is beautiful. Look at this fake hair this woman wears. But we should see them for what they are. Allah Ta'ala's messenger said that the la'natullah ta'ala, that the curse of Allah Ta'ala is upon them. And what does he say when he mean that? That they bu'adam min rahmatullah, that they are far removed from the mercy of Allah Ta'ala. And this is very important. So when we see things in society, if we're loving for Allah and hating for Allah, you're looking at these things and they're not beautiful to us. It's important for you in particular, you should tell your young brother, because many times we see young brothers in particular, the shabab of Islam, they fall in victim to that. Beauty has been defined through khufana, right? And so this is another example, and we see these type of things which Allah Ta'ala has cursed. And which the messenger of Allah told you that Allah Ta'ala hates, but we find them fair seen. And so it's important that, just to start off, if you know young Muslims that's dressing like that, in particular young brothers with the pants, you need to tell them where it comes from. And Allah Ta'ala, this is not the dress of a Muslim, and sisters as well. Or you should tell them young brothers, or you young brothers, if you see these women out here with this type of stuff in their hair, knowing that they have the curse of Allah Ta'ala upon them. And the third one, we just want to set some ground rules here, is to look at the concept of tattooing. And the Prophet ﷺ, we all know, said that curse is the one who gets the tattoo, right? Who is the doer of the tattoo as well. But you see, but how is that coming to society today? That everybody wants one. You see all the kuffar, and we see these sports stars and others, and we look at these people with respect, and in some of the younger generation, they want to be like this individual. Well, why would you want to be like someone that's been cursed by Allah Ta'ala, who has done these things that have cursed? So it's very important that the Muslim learns to love for Allah Ta'ala and hate for Allah Ta'ala. And these are three clear examples of things that probably, the biggest thing today is tattoos, wigs, and these clothes hanging off your behind, right? And we know from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that all three of these things carry the curse of Allah Ta'ala. So they should be despised and hated by the Muslim. And many times when we hate things, we need to hate them in our heart, at least. You might not go out there and just say, oh man, everything's ugly, but you should see this and understand where it's coming from. You walk around the campus and another thing, you should see this and know that this is of the things that Allah hates, that Iblis has suggested, the shaitan is waswas to an individual, and they have gained love for something that Allah Ta'ala dislikes. So the question becomes here, what is the biggest tool of shaitan today? What would you say? Anybody have an answer?
Media.
Huh?
Media.
The media, why?
It encompasses everyone, I guess.
Yeah, and from the media, what portion of the media would be it?
Movies.
Movie, but advertisement. The advertisement, because shaitan is waswas, he suggests. Right? I mean, he said, Inni da'awtukum fastajibtum li. As Allah Ta'ala said, shaitan said, I only called you and you came. So what is advertisement? Why would you think they'll pay somebody $30 million to wear a pair of sneakers? Right? So, or they pay $5 million for a 1-minute commercial at the Super Bowl. Right? So advertisement is a way of suggesting to one's mind. And so shaitan, we can see that the way people dress and everything is suggested to them. No one puts you in these things. But the advertisement has told you that this is beauty, that this looks nice, that this is hip, that these things exist. So when we look, the media and all these answers you have is correct, but they are all what? They're advertised to us. So because you can look at it. The highest paid people out there is the advertisement industry. I'm going to pay 3 guys $30 million to wear a pair of sneakers. I paid $90 million out for somebody to wear a pair of sneakers that I'm selling for $150, $200. So how many pairs of those sneakers I need to sell to get my $90 million I done paid out just for the guy to wear it, just for the person to suggest that to your mind? So it's very important that we as Muslims begin to look at that. And this goes back to the whole concept. تَشَبَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ. He who loves or wants to resemble a people is of them. Because many times we don't see that. But in the hadith of the Prophet, why is this important? Because Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah Ta'ala tells us, لا تزول قدمان ابن آدم يوم القيامة حتى يسأله عن الخمس. He said, the feet of the son of Adam will not move on the day of judgment until he's asked about 5 things. In another hadith, he said, لا تزول قدم عبد عبد يوم القيامة حتى يسألوا عن أربع خصال. In another hadith, the feet of the son of Adam or of a person will not move, the slave will not move until he's asked about 4 characteristics or 4 things in general. And we all know the first one, an umrihi, fima afna, or about your life and how you spent it. But did anybody know the rest of the hadith? What was the second thing you'll be asked about on Yom Kippur?
Prayer.
Huh?
Prayer.
On the shabab, about your youth. Fima abala, and how, how did you handle the test and other things that you went through? So, first thing Allah Ta'ala is going to ask you about is your life in general. Right? But then he's going to zero in on a portion of your life. What is the shabab? As the scholars of Islam bring it from puberty to the age of 40. So all of y'all in here probably shabab except for myself, right? But I've been through that phase. That portion of my record that I'm going to be asked about on Yom Al-Qiyamah has already been closed. But that portion of your record is still open. That Allah Ta'ala is going to zero in on how you spent your youth. The Prophet ﷺ is reminded, what did you do with that youth of your life? On the shababihi, about fima abala, how did you handle things? Because, many of us, when we're young Muslims, we get involved, or, some of your friends, they may have girlfriends, boyfriends, want to go to the club, do this other nonsense or whatever. But they forget that Allah Ta'ala is going to question them in particular on Yom Al-Qiyamah. He said, La tazulu qadaman Yom Al-Qiyamah, that your feet not going to move. You're not going to move until you settle the record of your youth. So I encourage you at this point, because why else is the youth important? Because number one, this is when you're at the height of your intellectual ability as well. You're young, you're in school, you can stay up all night, study, you can do these things, you can pray your tahajjud, you can memorize your Quran. It's not good when you get 50, 60 years old talking about, I gotta start memorizing my Quran, I gotta start making my salat, I gotta start going to the masjid, because none of us are promised those years. So when you're at that age when, like I say, you're promised that now. You have it. You're here tonight. You go home. You got to make your isha, you make your maghrib, your fajr in the morning. Because you're going to be questioned about that on Yom Al-Qiyamah. And then the third thing you say, anil about your money. How you obtained it and what you did with it. So if you look at your wealth as a Muslim, you're in school right now to what? So you can get a better education, you get a better job, so you can make more money. But then, like I said, most people, like said, man, I get that money, I'm going to do this for Islam, I'm going to do that for Islam. If the average one of y'all was given $2 million tomorrow, what would you do? You probably build you a house with a moat with alligators around it and don't want to deal with nobody again, right? You say, look, forget that. I got paid. I need to cool out because everybody wants some of my money. But he said he's going to ask you about how you obtained your money and what you did with it. And then on an enemy, and about your knowledge and what did you do with the knowledge you obtained about Islam. And just like tonight, if we know those hadith about, now you understand that these things from the eyebrows to the wigs, to all these other things, Allah Ta'ala hates it. You have to deal with that from a different perspective, right? The next time you see one of these women out here with the wigs, oh my God, these are the faces that Allah hates. That's what it is. Because if someone's cursed by Allah, Allah hates it. This is an individual that cannot receive the mercy of Allah. When you sit beside somebody in class and a woman's full of perfume, she don't smell good, because the Prophet ﷺ makes it clear that these people are cursed by Allah, that they're angels. You don't come near them. That they have the curse of Allah and His angels when they come out. So you can see that Shaitan has set people in a situation, as he said in the Quran, Shaitan makes their deeds fair seeming to them. So it's important that you as young Muslims, you don't allow that to happen to you. That you see the fact that you have this knowledge, you have these things, and it doesn't happen to you. And then in another hadith of the Prophet, ﷺ, we just want to go over a couple of these hadith of the Prophet. When you traveling, what does everyone know the dua of the traveler? Right? The Prophet ﷺ, whenever he traveled, he made this dua. Right? Whenever he get, it's dua whenever he rode on his camel or whatever, his mount, he would say Allahu Akbar 3 times. And then he would ask Allah Ta'ala for 7 things in particular. And we all travel, we get in our car, a lot of you driving, you travel, you do things. But do we make these dua that the Prophet ﷺ prescribed? Just like when we went out our door this morning, what dua did we make? Right? And we wonder why Iblis is on my case, because the Prophet, You leave, you know, Bismillah wa tawakka ala Allah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. He said, if you could leave your house and you say this, then Shaitan would say, how can I bother him? Because he has now had the protection of Allah Ta'ala. So you leave out, you on your cell phone, you talking, man, you worried about, you texting or whatever other nonsense you're doing at that particular time, and you ain't made your dua. So yeah, you may locked into your social media thing or whatever, but you don't have the protection of Allah Ta'ala. So we need to reflect how many of us left out our homes today and made no dua when we left out of the door. So we left in a state not pleasing to Allah Ta'ala, and that Allah Ta'ala sent His Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, as He said, as mubashirina they're mubashirina mundhirin. This is why the Anbiya came, as bringers of glad tidings and warners to us. So this is an example of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. He had dua for these different aspects of life. And you know, this one dua becomes important because why does dua become important? Because dua help also to protect you from things that you may fall into which are incorrect. And just before we go into the dua, it's an important point that you need to make about tawbah. Right? What is tawbah? When we talk about tawbah, we call it repentance in English. But what is the Arabic concept of tawbah? Or what is the Islamic concept of tawbah? So throw something out there.
Returning back to Allah.
Returning back to Allah. You know all the answers. No, we didn't even say it today. Ruju'u ila Allah ta'ala. You're returning back to Allah ta'ala. Meaning what? Okay, you know, just like we talked about earlier today with some brother. If I got my GPS in the car, which the Quran is the GPS of life, right, of getting to Jannah. Because it is the roadmap. It is the guidebook, right, for how I want to get to the God. So if the guidebook tell me don't go here, la taqrabu zina, don't go near to zina, don't go near to this, don't go near to that, and I do that, that means I done made a wrong turn in the road off the sirat al-mustaqim. So what I need to do, I need to come back, and the way I come back to that straight path first is I feel that remorse and I make tawbah. But what of the conditions of tawbah is something that we always have to remember, that you don't broadcast your sin. You have to feel remorse, and also you don't broadcast, you don't go tell sister or brother, guess what I did. Right? Because then after you make tawbah, if you go back and tell someone after that, you negate your conditions of tawbah. Because now that you're not in that state where that Allah Ta'ala has forgave you for it. That the Prophet ﷺ told the man, because in the hadith he talked about what is mujahara. Mujahara, meaning to speak about something openly. He said, the man said he committed a sin out there, and the Prophet ﷺ had questioned him about why he came and told him. Because if you tell me about the sin, then I have to deal with you in a different light. Right? I have to approach you and deal with you from a different light. So it's very important that I and other things are supposed to be ways of protecting us from sin and doing other things. So an example with the dua of the traveler, when the Prophet says, he said, glory to him who has made this instrument subject to us. Meaning that we should praise Allah Ta'ala when you get in your car. The fact that you can turn that key and do those things is by the mercy of Allah Ta'ala. That this knowledge that the individual had that created these things are from the blessings of Allah Ta'ala. And he said, but if it's not for you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Then he would say, Allahumma inni as'aluka fi safarina hadha birra wa taqwa wa min amali ma tarda. He said 3 things you ask for right off. What? Birr, wa taqwa, and deeds that are pleasing to Allah Ta'ala. I mean, even when you get in your car to go to school, or you get in your car to go to work, you should make this dua. Because this is a dua of making yourself conscious of Allah Ta'ala. Because this is very important, and many times we just want to run around, and you can see in particular that you see the kuffar, he gets out and he's conscious of one thing. I got my headphones on, I got my music on, I got my social media going, I'm on my Facebook, and he's chatting, and he's doing all this other nonsense that ain't going to do him no good on Yawm al-Qiyamah. But he's distracted. But you may fall into that distraction, but Allah Ta'ala, Messenger said there's some prerequisites that a Muslim, the one who has submitted his will to the will of Allah Ta'ala in Tawheed and allowing himself to be led by Allah Ta'ala. You know what I mean? That definition, as we gave rid of who is Islamun lillahi bi tawheed wa inqiyadu lahu bi ta'ah, that individual, he makes dua. Because he wants Allah, when he's moving about the earth, he wants to have piety, he wants to have taqwa, he wants protection, from the things that Allah Ta'ala hates, and he wants to do deeds that are pleasing, that will be pleasing to Allah Ta'ala. And then as he talked about in another part of the Hawwan alayna safar, he said, make easy for me the journey. And then he said, and you make you cover it fast, meaning let it not be long and difficult on you. And then he said, then he also talked about what type of things you want to see when you travel. Meaning you want Allah Ta'ala to allow you to see things which are pleasing to your eye. In one hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, for the young men in particular, the young women, he said, he who sees a woman or something, and and she may be, as Nabi, means she's not lawful to you. She may have her hair out and stuff like that, meaning you shouldn't see that. Only women of your family you should be able to see that with. And he said, if you turn away, he said, Allah will give you something better, sweeter, and Jannah on Yawm al-Qiyamah when you face Allah Ta'ala. So the Muslim, he's a ghadr basri. He lowers his gaze for what reason? Because he knows that Allah Ta'ala, this is part of the ibadah of Allah Ta'ala. When we look at that deep, when he said, Iyaka wa julusu ala turuqat, he warned you about hanging out, as we would say in street language, I warn you about being out on the street, but what is that? Being out on the block, hanging out on the corner, or just standing out there somewhere. Allah Ta'ala's messenger said, that you have to give the road its rights. And one of the things about giving the rights into road or other things when you're on the street is what? That you ghadr basri, that you lower your gaze, that you guard your modesty, that you don't look at things that are haram. So one of the part of the dua of the traveler, that he wants to now from Allah Ta'ala to give him things which are pleasing to his eye, that he don't have to lower his gaze. So this goes into the whole concept. When you hear the Muslim talk about, I'm going to the beach, or I want to go to the homecoming, or whatever other nonsense like that, and they got the half-naked whatever out there. I mean, are you saying that Allah, I'm traveling here, and I want you to give me things that will be pleasing to the eye, and I want to increase my taqwa, and I want to increase my birr, my righteousness. You know what I mean? When you make dua to Allah Ta'ala to do something, then there are conditions on you. And if you don't fulfill those conditions, just like in Al-Fatiha, we read Al-Fatiha what? 6,000 times a year. Roughly, it's about 6,480. You young mathematicians might get me for a couple of days here, right? But it's, the Prophet ﷺ in Hadith, he talked about an individual, that Talha came to him. And Talha said, I had in a dream, I saw two men. He said, the one brother, he died shaheed. And then his brother died a year later. But he said, oh Prophet ﷺ, I saw the second brother entering Jannah before the first. And he said, how could this be? And the first one died shaheed. He said, why not? And he had prayed 6,000 more rak'ah than him. And he had fasted another Ramadan. And he had prayed his sunnah. So the minimum required for the men of this ummah is for you to pray at least 6,000 rak'at a year. So what we're saying, you say Fatiha 6,000 times a year. But so what are you saying? Do we reflect upon it when we're saying it? Or does our dua, or that we say in Al-Fatiha becomes just like I'm just getting through it, I'm making my salah. But as Allah Ta'ala said, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ, do you ponder the message of the Qur'an? And as Ibn Qayyim is talking about, حَجْرُ الْقُرْآنُ أَنْوَاعٌ حَجْرُ تَدَبُّرِهِ وَتَفَاهِمُهِ مَا أَرَادَ مُتَكَلِّمُ بِهِ, that the person neglects the Qur'an by neglecting to reflect upon what is the meaning of what you're saying. Many times we're going through the ritual, but the ritual, you have to understand what you're saying. Because in the Fatiha, we go through this thing of acknowledging first, after we say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. We acknowledge that Allah, that through my understanding, I acknowledge the fact that you are the Lord of everything. All these worlds of knowledge of the men, of the jinn, of everything. This is a statement of understanding. Then we go back to understand that Allah Ta'ala is our Rahman Rahim, and then we go to his Maliki Yawmiddin. So we make three statements of Tawheed, right? We understanding that Allah Ta'ala, that he's the master, that we understand that we have to face Allah. Then we will say, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. What are we saying here? Oh Allah, I acknowledge the fact that I know that you are Rabbil Alameen. You know what I mean? That you are Rahman Rahim, that through your names and your description. And that the fact that what? That Iyaka, Maliki Yawmiddin, that I'm going to have to face you, I'm going to worship nothing but you. Wa iyyaka nasta'in, and I'm only going to seek your assistance. And then as Allah tells him, Ista'inu Allahi bi sabri wa salah. He said, you seek his help how? Through sabr to holding fast in adversity. This goes back to about the Shabbat. When when the temptations of things come to you in your youth, the Muslim holds fast. He doesn't fall victim to these things. I mean, it's not the concept we say, well, it means patience, to wait. Patience in English has a different concept. The Muslim means he holds fast in adversity. He continues to do what Allah Ta'ala tells him to do. And he waits on the mercy of Allah Ta'ala. That's a different concept of being patient. Being patient is like waiting. He said, be patient. That means just wait. But when we have sabr in Islam, meaning that I'm faced with some adversity here and I'm holding fast. I'm not going to do anything haram. So when we say, Iyaka nasta'in, then we say, Ihdina sirata mustaqim. We're making this dua. Allah is no Fatiha, but do we reflect when we sing? 6,000 times a year you say this. Some of you been praying, what, 20 years, 30 years, 25 years, 15 years. You a little bit older, it might be 40, 50 years. So how many times you just said this? Over 10 years, 6,000, what's that, 60,000 times? Or if you get into it on another 90, 100, which is sunnahs, you done said this thing, you done made this one dua 120, 130,000 times a year. But do you ponder what you're saying? What this covenant you just made with Allah Ta'ala? You've asked Allah to guide me to the Sirat al-Mustaqim. You're saying, Allah, all these subul that shaitan had, I don't want no part of. So now you done made this covenant through this dua with Allah Ta'ala that guide me here. So Allah guiding you. But what do? You show disrespect for the dua you make in al-Fatiha when you fall victim. When you're young brother, when you're out there, you may be doing something. Or somebody say, let's go to the club, or we have to get into the shisha issue later, but you want to just go hang out there with the women and sitting in there with the young women. So you sitting there smoking. The young women over there. What are you doing there? Is it any bad going on in that chumping? Or in that place, or whatever you call it, at that particular time? Okay? And you coming out, it befogs your mind. Because as the Prophet says, anything which befogs the mind is khamr. And all of them are forbidden. So, but if you're in there and you're sitting with some women and not your wife, the girl might be in there 11, 12 o'clock, no mahram or whatever, and what are you doing? La taqrabu zina. Don't come near to a situation that you may slip in. So if I'm saying ihdina sirata mustaqim, I'm asking Allah, you have to ask yourself, is this a part of the sirata mustaqim? Because remember, Allah Ta'ala is your shababihi. You're about the abalah, about the trials, the test, how you dealt with this fitna, about these trials that you had in your youth. But you ain't gonna, you get a guy 50, 60 years, they gonna leave I ain't messing with no shit, it's just bad for my health then. All of a sudden it's bad for your health, well the doctor told me I need to leave this alone. So you're gonna leave it alone because the doc told you. But if the doc didn't tell you, still beat it. I mean, but do we respect the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in the same way? Do we respect the dua that we say in al-Fatiha in the same way? So when I say ihdina sirata mustaqim, I'm making this Allah guide me. I'm asking Allah to do something for me. So when Allah does that, there's a requirement on you now that you're going to be asked about if you don't fulfill. Then he was Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. The path of those an'amta that you are blessed. Min an-nabiyyin wa siddiqeen wa shuhada wa salihin. From the prophets, and the messenger, from the martyrs, the truthful ones, and the pious. This is the path you're asking for. You're asking Allah to put me on the path of these 4 particular types of individuals. That's what you just said. That is Sirata alladhina an'amta ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. And we always say, as Uthaymin explains in another one, his explanations later, this is not just the Jews and the Christians. He said, what is the ghadab Allah? He said, Allah Ta'ala's angers on a lot of type of things. So when I don't want the path of those angels, not just the Christians or the Jews, and we talk about it's about the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Confucians, any of that nonsense that is not in accord with what Allah Ta'ala. That all angers Allah. You don't want to be on the path of the guy that's selling the wigs to getting paid. Because the curse and the anger of Allah, don't put me the love to get me a wig shop. Or liquor, or a store that's selling liquor, or wine or beer. Because these are the things that are ghadab Allah Ta'ala alayhi as well, that Allah's angers upon. or the darling, anything which takes you into a type of bid'ah which leads to shirk is darling. لكل بدعة دلالة وكل دلالة في النار. Every innovation is a string, and every string leads to hellfire. So again, that we say, so what are we saying? This is a powerful dua we make 6,000 times a year, at the minimum. And this is for the brothers and sisters because of their mentions and other thing, pray less. So their amount will be less according to the sister. But we know that everybody making it probably at least 5,000 rak'ats a year. So do we reflect on something that must have been important, because there's nothing that Allah Ta'ala required you do more than Surah Al-Fatiha. There's nothing that you're required to say more to, than that. This is it. So we should reflect upon the importance of that, and importance of the dua of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So I don't want to hold you too long. Any questions at this point? No?
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh.
What were the four things again that the Prophet said you will not move on Judgment Day? So
there's 5. He said your feet will not move until you ask about your age, about your life and how it passed away, about your youth and what you did it, about your wealth and how you spent it and how you obtained it, and about your knowledge, right, and what you did with it.
What was the first one? Your life?
About your life, your whole of your life.
Oh, okay.
And then in the second part about your shabab, about your youth. You social media guy, did you find it online yet?
No.
I'm not saying I was just messing, because you get older, you get away from social media. Right. But those are important 5. But I'm talking about, I encourage all of you to go home and reflect on what you're saying in Al-Fatiha. Because, you shouldn't make these things an empty ritual, because that's why Ibn Qayyim said it. حَجْرُ تَدَبُّرِهِ وَتَفَهِّمُهِ مَا أَرَادَ مُتَكَلِّمُ بِهِ. You neglect to ponder and understand what the speaker, Allah Ta'ala, wants from you when you make this, when you say that. So when we say Al-Fatiha, what does Allah want from me? Because you just asked Allah for these things, but what is your requirement once you ask Allah Ta'ala for those type of things? And it's very important because, I know, many times we forget, growing up in the West, everything is beckoning you to the haram. This hayat dunya is different, because we remember that Allah Ta'ala tells in the Quran, He said, لِيُبْلُوكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. He said He will try you and test you to see which of you is what? Best in deeds, not أَكْثَرُ عَمَلًا, not the most deeds. It's about best in deeds. And when the brother was having a discussion, he said, okay, it would have been easy for Allah Ta'ala to give everybody who came, if everybody came to Islam, he said, man, every salat you get to, you get $25. $125, everybody gets salat. Fajr, Maghrib, $125 salat, $125 a day, I'm making my salat. I don't even need to go to work. I'm just going to pray my salat. So if Allah gave you the dunya for the akhirah, everybody would be Muslim. You know that the kuffar would come to Islam. Look, you get paid, you become a Muslim. Right? So everybody would come. But Allah Ta'ala didn't make it like that. He said He left man alone, saying he believed now and not be tested. Now the test He's going to give some people more than you, some people less than you. Some people going to have this, that. You're going to have more difficult. Now Allah is trying and testing you. So, now He's not going to give you the dunya, because your ikhlas would not be there. Your sincerity would not be there. The Muslim is in Islam, and you sincerely supposed to be in Islam because you're seeking the hereafter. So, you want Jannah. But if you got everything in the dunya, then you would never concentrate on Jannah. So the way Allah made the world, that's why everyone is not the equal in whatever. He tries and tests you on what He gave you. Because a guy may get $1 million, and his test may be his arrogance after that. You may have nothing. You may have a minimum wage job, and now your test becomes, can you maintain the limits and not go into the haram? Because Allah didn't give you what He gave. Or now does the person with wealth become arrogant and look down his nose at you, and then you become envious and jealous of what Allah Ta'ala gave him? Or then you in the middle and then you fall. So Allah is trying and testing us, all of us in different ways, because all of us have different statuses in this dunya. But the sincerity of Islam means that I'm in this for the akhirah. I'm in this for the hereafter, not for this dunya. So when we look at, that's why Allah said, which of you are best in deeds? He's trying to test you. What I gave you, did you do the best with what I had? And the person who loves Allah Ta'ala and His Messenger, that's what they're going to do. Because we know this is why the fitna of the Dajjal is so difficult. Because Dajjal comes and he promises you whatever you want in the dunya. Because as he said in one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ has told us, he said, as Dajjal will come, and as he goes through an area, he will cause the kunuz, that the riches of the earth will come up. And so people will go out because Dajjal promising ducats. He promising money. Just like when we thought about it, it's always kind of a joke when we think about it. Yeah, $25 a lot, I'm showing up. You know, look, gas is $5 to get to the bar. I'm going to pull in $2,100 a day. $500 a week, $2 extra thousand a month, $24,000 a year. I'm rolling. I'm getting my new merch, right? And you'd have it all figured out just to make your salah. Yeah, but that's not the way Islam is set up. So Allah Ta'ala is trying you and testing you in a different fashion. This is why in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he's talking about, when we know about the ghurubat, he said, Bada Islamu ghariban fasayaudu ghariban fatubi ghurubat. And he said, when they asked, قِيلَ مَنْ غُرُبَاءَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم, النَّاسُ صَالِحُونَ قِيلًا فِي النَّاسُ سُوءُ كَثِيرٌ. He said, the people who are pious and righteous, and there are few amongst the people or people who are su'u kathir, who practice a lot of evil, a lot of wrong. And for many of you, in particular the sisters, you know, they have a different situation because they can't closet their Islam like you can. You can put on your sweatsuit and your baseball cap thrown back with your New York Knicks thing, and you might slide by and nobody know you Muslim, right? Until you open your mouth, right? Or then, a lot of people want it, but the sisters, they can't do that. So they have a greater trial in dealing with the dunya than men. Many times, because they wear their hijab, they seen the moment they walk in the room that she is a Muslim. A lot of times we could walk places and nobody know you Muslim. Because, I all the time, I run into the young Muslims sometime and they be out there, and then, all of a sudden you see them next week at Juma. Like, Assalamu alaikum, you remember me? When I saw you out there with your girlfriend in the store giggling and cussing, oh, astaghfirullah, you know how that is, Aki. I don't know because I don't do that. Why is always the question of brother where I say, you know how it is? If I say I know, that means I'm practicing the same nonsense you practice. That means me and you both haramis together. So that type of statement to another Muslim showing you that you lost your mind, how do I know? Right? If I know that me and you I should have stopped and hung out with you at that particular time. The Muslim should never really know, and you should let no, I don't understand. Because I hate that conduct, because Allah Ta'ala's messenger said this is displeasing to Allah Ta'ala. But sometimes we hear the statement of a Muslim when he's in the haram, or he's doing wrong, to show that he doesn't understand the depths of his sin himself. That his remorse, and we have to understand, this is the whole concept when Allah Ta'ala's messenger talk about the black heart, the black spots starting to come on a person's heart. And I listened to the lecture of one of the shuyukh from Jannah Imam Muhammad in Saudi in Riyadh, and he made a good point about this. He brought the point, he said many times, while the Quran, we stand up in Tahajjud and Ramadan, and we read Quran, and why it has no effect on our heart, because our hearts have become dead, hard, because of all the stuff that you do the rest of the day. You can't be standing with your sahib just cursing, or you can't be lusting on women, or looking at these women, or liking the wigs, or whatever, and then not feel your heart becoming hard, then you go read the Quran, and this is a heart that's dead. Because your heart can die. The black spot, your heart becomes black. And what purifies it is the more of the sunnah that you do. That's why in that ayah we talk, إِلَّا مَنْ تَابُوا وَأَصْلَحُوا وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِاللَّهِ, about the person who makes tawbah, who repents, who has remorse, and purifies himself, who corrects his actions, and hold fast to the way of Allah, وَأَخْلَصُوا دِينَهُمْ لِلَّهِ, and purifies his deen. He's doing things sincerely for Allah. أُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ مُؤْمِنِينَ. These are the people with the believers. So if we want to be with the believers and consider ourselves believers, then we need to develop a type of conduct. And it's always important that you need to counsel your friend. Because if we take an example about love of the Sahaba, if we was all to given a piece of paper and say, write down 25 Sahaba, would that be difficult? But if I say, write down me 25 sports stars, or write down the last 5 quarterbacks for the Redskins. Oh, no problem. You got his nickname, RG3 and all that, like you and him boys been hanging out every day. You talk about these kuffar and these sports stars with a personal thing. But the people we should love, the Sahaba, we have little or no knowledge of them. right? You know, we take people who have been promised Jannah, and we say, man, 25 of them are difficult. But you know, they get you up in American history or European history, and they give you Napoleon, you start running Napoleon's generals, and everybody else, the last 9 presidents, and all these fuel for the fire guys, you know them well. But it said, if you love a people, then you know about that people. And you're familiar with that people. And those people become your way of life. You know what I mean? Because these were the people that loved the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet loved them. And these are the type of things we have to do, because when you don't know 25 Sahaba, you know, and there was like tens of thousands, you know, you might have 10,000, okay? We have a rough estimate, right? And so if you know 25, what percent is that? Any of my mathematicians tell me what is 25 of 5,000?
Okay.
That's less than 1%, yes? So you know less than 1% of the Sahaba, and we be bragging many times. I know 25 Sahaba. So if you wouldn't go to no doctor and said, I got a 1% on the last test, and he about to cut you open, right? So, man, I ain't messing with that cat. Man, that guy don't know what he's doing. You know what he got on his exam? He got a 1. He knew 1% of the answers. And you see the mercy of Allah Ta'ala there for us. The little bit of Islam that we know. And most of us get by on three pillars of Islam. Tawheed, Salat, and fasting Ramadan. You ain't paying no zakat. You ain't making no hajj. So you try to get the Jannah on 3 out of 5. And Allah, through His mercy, will let you in. Because maybe you never get enough money to pay the zakat. Maybe you never get enough money to make hajj. But you know that Tawheed, your Salat, and your fasting will be enough to get you into the garden. You know, and avoiding the haram and doing other things. So we can see, that's why we can see in the hadith of the Prophet, no one will enter Jannah because of their deeds. Because your deeds should not enough to equal what Allah Ta'ala is about to give you. Because we have to understand that what you get in here is immortality. Because when you die in this physical death in this earth, there is no other death after that. So what we're striving for is immortality. To live forever in the presence of Allah Ta'ala. So any other questions? Go ahead.
When you were speaking earlier about tattoos, wigs, what else was it?
Tattoos, wigs, we get to the arch eyebrows, the perfume. We want to get. And you know, you need to get into the retro prison homosexual.
Right.
Earrings.
Pants, and you know, and the earring for a man, that's the shabbahu biqawmin. Again, you're trying to look like a people. And now the 2 earrings, man, you know, when I was growing up, if a guy had 2 earrings, we knew he was, you know, the boy that look here, I ain't sitting with Cuddy, because Cuddy's strange, y'all. And now, Iblis has made it a fashion statement, right? But you know, many times you grow up and you don't understand the history of how Iblis is deceiving you. Right, and if you go through the hadith and you go look up, if you go to the site, look up the word la'natullah. You know, what the things that Allah Ta'ala has cursed. You get a whole list. And they talk about the ariyat, you know, the women that are exposed, clothed but unclothed. With these, what they put these women in the spandex, right? And they running around in this and they naked but clothed. And the Prophet ﷺ said when he was able to see in the hellfire, he said he saw these women and that he had never seen in his life. He said they were clothed but unclothed. And you know now that's what you see in the street. That is the dress of shaitan. So that is the dress of a person or women in hellfire. And people now think that's fashion. So if we start going through the fashion statements of kuffar today, you see it, all of it is almost in opposition to Islam. Right? They tell the men they're supposed to put their pants that they're under their shoes. Falling off their butt under their shoes, right? And the Prophet ﷺ said for the man, they're supposed to be above their ankle, right? And the women's supposed to have their longer. But women's clothes are supposed to be shorter and men's supposed to be longer. The opposite of what Islam tells us. So if you start going through what fashion is today, you can see totally that it's in opposition to Allah. So when we go look at the curse here, but next time you go by a wig shop, you should know what it is. When you go buy them Koreans and they got the little wig shop, man, and you want to go in there and get you need to think where you're going into. This place is cursed by Allah. We think the bar is cursed, but what other thing? The wig shop is cursed, right? The tattoo parlor is cursed, right? All of them on the same level. You know, he said, man, I saw the guy coming out of the bar. He said, I saw Cuddy coming out the wig store. What's wrong with him? It's the same thing. Why you want to criticize the brother for coming out the club and don't jam him up for coming out of the other spot that's cursed? He might have been going in the club to go to the bathroom. He better be going to the wig shop to go to the bathroom instead of buying some extensions for his wife or something like that. I don't know, right? So, but we have to understand, and the same thing with the tattoo part. When you see these things, know that these things are of places that Allah Ta'ala hates. And we have to start hating.
See, that was my question. Like you said, like you just said, you know, maybe he went in there to use the bathroom. Maybe he went in there to use the bathroom. Aren't we as Muslims supposed to give the benefit of the doubt?
You give him the benefit of the doubt, but you need to ask him, because maybe he don't know the hadith. So, you know, I saw you there. It's okay, mashallah, but I just want to remind you the hadith that these places are cursed. Maybe you should find you a better place next time, right? Because, you know, what are the chances of a guy going into the club to go to the bathroom?
No, I understand what you're saying.
You know, but I'm talking about you got to, yeah, you give a brother the benefit of the doubt. You always give your brother the benefit of the doubt. But if a person you know, but you still have to warn and advise your brother, because maybe you don't know the hadith.
No, I mean, like, I was leaning more towards tattoos because, you know, there's brothers that, you know, they've been tatted and then they made Toba. Or they've been tatted before.
Yeah, if you made Toba, that's fine.
Before they became Muslim.
That's okay.
And then they come to the masjid and you have brothers, oh, you know.
No, you don't do that.
Yeah,
you don't do that.
It's jahiliyyah. It's people that they
right.
tend to hear these lectures that say, oh, you should go warn these brothers. But they tend to leave that part out.
You're absolutely right on that. You don't accuse your brother.
Right.
But if you see the brother today and tomorrow, like here's the problem. Like in D.C., Philadelphia, New York, other places like that. The young brothers now, when they take Shahada, they go and get tattoos. Star and crescent. Inshallah on their arm. Allahu Akbar on the back of their neck. These are all things I done seen. You tell you, right? Star and crescent up here on your eye. All that. Now, because I heard a young bro, I just took Shahada, now I'm going to get my tattoo. Whoa, time out, cut. Let me talk to you. You know, this is what we're talking about. So you got to, many times we approach it from a harsh point of view because many times young Muslims are getting them now. Yeah, a lot of people who come from Jahiliyyah, they had it, right? You know, and if you had it before Islam, you don't need to make Tawbah because Islam erases everything that happened before. But if you got one in Islam, then you need to make Tawbah for it. You might not care to remove it, but you need to make Tawbah because remember, this is of the kaba'ir. This is of the major sins. We don't really see that as a major sin, right? Because anything that Allah Ta'ala has cursed is a major sin.
Right.
You know, so we don't really see that as a major sin. Just like we don't see the wigs or the arching of the eyebrows stuff as major sins. But they are major sins. Yeah, and you're correct that says we give a brother a benefit of the doubt. If he's in the mosque and praying, then you know. But we have to relate that because it is becoming a problem amongst the young Muslims today. Because I'm in the store and I only reason I knew the guy was Muslim because he had an Inshallah tattoo wrapped around his elbow and I saw the N. And then when he turned it, I saw the Shah and I caught the law when he raised it up. And I'm like, he knew Muslim. But he said, oh man, you saw my tattoo. And I like to remind him, your tattoo ain't cool. You know, I seen Allahu Akbar on the back of people's neck. You know. And one brother said he married a sister and he got the sister home and she had Inshallah tattooed across her back.
Oh my God.
Right? These are real life stories I'm telling y'all. These are not tales of the ancient. I mean, this is stuff you see that's out there. And and it's not uncommon today. I mean, these are becoming more and more common, in particular amongst the young inner city Muslim, right? Because now that, they believe that the tattoo is part of the sunnah. It's part of Islam. That you get the star and crescent and these other things to represent yourself as a Muslim. But then it's not. Go ahead.
Would you say that an Islamic tattoo is better than a regular tattoo?
No tattoo is good. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, cursed is the one who tattoos. He didn't say Islamic, kufr, jahiliyyah tattoo. We don't mark our body up. So what do we need a symbolism on you? Because Islam is seen through your actions. Allah Ta'ala will judge you about your actions. So what are you getting this for? I mean, what is the point? If Allah Ta'ala has made something cursed, then I try to avoid it at all costs. Because, you notice nobody gets one tattoo today. It always starts out as one. And then you see the guy 15 years later, and he's like a dragon. He covered everywhere. So if you start with that one little one on your elbow, Next year I gotta get one on my neck, my chest, my arm, and it goes on. So it's best to, you know, because knowing that these things are cursed and knowing that you're going in a place to get it is cursed by Allah Ta'ala, and the person who's doing it is cursed. You don't want nobody touching you that's cursed.
I know a lot of people that argue that tattoos that they're not haram, right? But
They can argue what they want to argue. The Prophet said they're haram. Tell them to take it up with the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. Because it's not my concept they're haram. See, arguing that is intellect. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
They argue from rational intellect. If the Messenger alayhi salam said it's haram, it's haram. Right? You know, it's not for the believer to have no other say in the matter at that point. So, and they got to be careful when they say that, because if the Allah Ta'ala's messenger says something and you're arguing against Allah Ta'ala and his message, now you done made a statement of kufr. Now you're about to fall out of the fold of Islam, right? Because now your argument is not with the speaker, your argument is what Allah Ta'ala has said is forbidden to you. Right? So those type of people who try to make that argument a justification, they need to be careful. You know, because their argument now is against what Allah Ta'ala and his messenger has said is forbidden. You know, and there's no room for argument in there.
Kind of want to sort of bounce on
Go
what
ahead.
brother said. Can you speak on like how people talk about lesser of two evils and that whole notion and
What's the lesser of two evils?
you know how some people say the lesser of two evils and they assume that it's okay, you know, like complacency. In other words, can you speak on that?
Yeah, but there is no lesser of two evils in Islam. I mean, that's what we have to say. You know, because the Prophet was saying, "La tahqiranna min al-ma'rufi shay'an." You don't belittle any good. But there's nowhere in the hadith of the Prophet he talked about the lesser of two evils. Haram is haram. So how is one evil less? That means, okay, what is the guy talking about? Did I drink till I get drunk? And I only drink to get high? That's the lesser of the two evils. So what, you know, when you look at that, you got to really ask the person, what does he mean by the lesser of the two evils? If something's cursed by Allah, how lesser evil can it be? You know, if Allah is the one who dictates how we should live. So that's really, I mean, that's a Western type philosophical question, the lesser of two evils. That's like a question you get in an ethics and a moral class, in ethics. You know, when we dealing with the lesser, in Islam, ain't no lesser of two evils. Evil is evil, haram is haram. We avoid that because it's displeasing to Allah. Because that's why you have to make tawbah. Yeah, there's degrees of haram, right? Because like some things you need are kaba'ir and then some things are not. But all of those things the book's supposed to be tried to avoid. Just like I ran into a brother, just to tell you how sick some people are. He had girlfriends. And he said, look here, Allah's Messenger alayhi salam has said everyone has a sin that follows them through their life, and it's mine, so leave me alone. Right? So that's his lesser two evil. But the thing was saying that the Prophet said you have khata, you have mistakes that you make. He didn't say you pick your haram off the shelf. Yeah, this one mine. Leave me alone. This is what I'm going to do to Yom Qiyamah. Right? And then I heard another brother tell his wife something. His wife caught him in something. He said, look, sis, you got to understand, this is my haram, and Allah's message said everybody got a haram, so you got to let me go on this one. Right? He's like, you done lost your mind. He's watching porn. So this is what he telling his wife, look, this is my fetish, baby. I mean, these are actual real life stories that I heard. So how you get that's the lesser two evil. Look here. I ain't that bad. I only got one sin. Why don't you leave me go with that one? So Iblis has convinced that individual that the haram ain't that bad. They go ahead on to do this and never make tawbah. Your sister.
Allah knows.